Good morning from Painesville, outside Monrovia. This is LNTV News Live right here on LNTV. My name is Jab Davis, and coming up on this edition of the program, President George Weah declares today, Thursday, May 14, as National Unification Day, to be observed across Liberia as a national holiday. Finance Minister Samuel Tuah says the impact of COVID-19 on fragile states will affect the private sector and governance. The government of Liberia says its investigation about inciting comments by an official of the Council of Patriarchs is based on criminal implications, and at last, the sovereign African country of Lesotho records a case of COVID-19, becoming the last nation on the continent to confirm an infection. These stories plus more are all packaged in this edition of the program. Keep tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. Liberians are today, May 14, observing National Unification Day throughout the country as a national holiday. President George Weah, by proclamation, declared the day, ordering all public buildings and business houses closed during the observance. According to a foreign ministry release, due to the prevailing health crisis, there will be no official program marking this year's celebration. The proclamation, however, requests citizens and foreign residents, as well as religious leaders, to mark the day in reflection for peace, humanity, unity, and understanding among Liberians throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. The observance is in consonance with legislative enactment in 1960, declaring the 14th day of May in each year as National Unification Day of Liberia. President George Weah has written the Liberian Senate seeking an extension on the midterm senatorial election to December 2020. Currently, the election is scheduled for October 13, but the Liberian leader wants it pushed to December 15, 2020. Senate Secretary Nambola Segwe read the president's communication in section on Wednesday.
Dear Mr. President Pro Tempore, as you may be aware, the National Elections Commission, in keeping with Article 83A of the Constitution of Liberia, developed a timeline and budget for the 2020 senatorial elections and announced that the elections, along with the referendum, will be held on October 13, 2020, the second Tuesday of October 2020, the elections year. However, we have been informed by the NEC that it is not feasible to conduct the 2020 special senatorial election as per the Constitution, that is the second Tuesday in October of the election year, or October 13, 2020. As these activities are associated with a free, fair, and transparent election, COVID-19 has complicated the matter as Ebola did in 2014. Therefore, it may seem obvious that due to the above factors outlined, the October 13, 2020 special senatorial elections will not be held. As such, the NEC has suggested December 15, 2020, the third Tuesday of December 2020, as an ideal date to conduct the elections and referendum. According to NEC, this new adjusted date will afford them ample time to conclude the remaining preparatory activities. This will also allow for election to be held within this year.
At the same time, President Weah has pushed several critical issues regarding the preparation of the national budget. Here again is the Senate Secretary.
This budget for fiscal year 2020-2021 is being prepared in the context of addressing critical public expenditure demands as the country faces uncertainties of the pandemic. Key factors that will inform the fiscal year 2020-2021 resource forecast are below. Exogenous factors. Variations in the global prices of key export commodities, such as iron ore and rubber, coupled with fluctuations in the global prices of key imports, food and petroleum products. 2. Low foreign direct investment on account reduced investors' confidence. 3. Fall in donor contributions resulting from completion of major infrastructure projects and challenges confronting the global economy, which limit donors' ability to provide more aid. And 4, the outbreak of COVID-19 in more than 150 countries, which poses serious challenge to global economic activities. The endogenous factors. 1. Undiversified exports and lack of value addition to our key export commodities.
Finance Minister Samuel Tueh says the impact of COVID-19 on fragile states will affect the private sector, governance, resilience, and health strengthening. The Liberian Finance Minister is meanwhile calling on African countries to develop a new framework, including the risks posed by the coronavirus to fragile states. Speaking on a panel discussion organized by the World Bank on tackling COVID-19 in fragile settings, Minister Tueh called for more focus on the informal sector, including petty traders.
The Liberia's response has been all of society, the government, with full involvement of international development partnership. And so on the get-go, I would say the coordination across the multilateral, the bilateral, the donor community space has been massive. They've all come together. And this is coming on the heel of Ebola. Obviously, they were all here, and there were quite some amazing lessons that we've learned, and they wanted to see how we get ahead on this. So from the get-go, the president launched a preparedness plan. Liberia was among the first country in the continent, I believe, that began quarantining arrivals from highly infected European and Asian countries. Okay, so long before people took this thing serious. So quarantine started pretty much, I think, early February with that because of Ebola. All right. But we're at a different stage now. Today, I think we have around 212 cases, about 20 deaths. And so the first thing we need to say, the impact of COVID-19 is not going to be health in fragile countries and in countries with fragile situations. The impact is going to be non-health. And so it's the private sector impact, its impact on governance systems, its impact on resilience, on health strengthening. It's those kinds of impact on conflict propensities because of weakened fiscal spaces. This is where I think the situation will be. So we're not going to see the number of deaths we're seeing in America and in Europe. Even though some models have predicted that millions of Africans will die, I think those models are dead wrong. They made the same predictions with Ebola. I think what has to happen, as some of my colleagues have said, is we just need to develop a new paradigm, a new framework of COVID and inculcate the key risk to fragile countries, some of which I was mentioned. For example, our growth will be negative this year. And this is coming out of a very difficult macroeconomic reform we've had to undertake in the last 2 years.
Now, Liberia's Solicitor General Councillor Serena Cephas says statement attributed to an official of the Council of Petra's Manupake Dumor created terror and fear in the public. Addressing the media Wednesday, Councillor Cephas reiterated that government will restrain any individual or institution found misleading the public.
Precisely what I was talking about has happened. Manupake Dumor, for strange reason, decided to test our resolve. At that press conference, I indicated that it would be a serious miscalculation on the part of anyone for you to test our resolve. Because if you did so, we'll use the full weight of the law to get you. Today, it has been proven that Manupake Dumor decided to go to the social media to say, instead of anticipating the distribution of food ration, there should be a distribution of AK-47 so that the government of Liberia, the sovereign and constitutional government of Liberia, that speaks for the sovereign state, will be able to take them serious. If you look at a statement from two dimensions, first, it more or less tends to swim against the tide. What Liberians want to hear at the moment is they want to hear about what are the progress, what are the curve of the COVID-19 is dropping or is start going horizontal. And what they want to know is that what the government will be able to do to provide ration, if we will have to go extra days. That's what they want to hear. But this is a man who decided to make a very reprehensible statement with the intent to undermine the peace and security of the state. The second aspect is that his statement created fear. It's a campaign of terror, misinformation. That clearly represents the fake and dangerous news I was referring to. I said if we spread fake news and engage in a conduct that is considered to be atrocious to the peace and the security of the state, we will use every available means to seize your equipment, to have you arrested. Pursuant to that, the government secured, consistent with the criminal procedure law, a writ of search and seizure, and proceeded to his home and did a massive search, and in the process significant records and documentations were seized and now being investigated.
At the same time, Councillor Cephas said other documents were found in Mr. Dumor's residence that require state investigation.
Prior to coming before you today, I had thought it was just the making of the statement. I had thought it was just the making a posting of the statement. I didn't know that there were other documentation, other issues that requires clarity, purposes here and there, that we need to contact few people. Part of the issues that I just want to give you on the surface is that, for example, Manupake Dumor alone has 25 COVID passes. 25. Well, he acquired them legitimately, but what was the purpose? He said he engages in, for example, car business. There's no record anywhere around where he involved in transportation business here and there. There's nowhere around, so he used what we call misrepresentation, deception, and fraud to procure that. What was the objective for securing these things? So sometimes when we are sleeping, he drives around. One person, 25 COVID passes. Out here, I don't have one. And other development, other documentations relating to issues that border on a number of issues. For example, he's facing the other document, he's facing this one, he wants to do this one. These things require the government, the police, the investigators to look into them and be able to establish some of the names and personalities that they have there to make sure how he be able to. For example, I'm not giving you one that said he had 25 COVID passes. He said he involved in transportation business. We want to know whether he had an article in the corporation, he had kind of business, how many cars he has, all the kind of thing. We want to know that. And other documentations that were found in his possession. Some put up purely on national security matters.
Well, if you just joined us, a reminder that you're watching News Live here on LNTV. We're coming to you from Painesville, outside Monrovia, 30 minutes of news from Liberia and other parts of the world. My name is Chap Davis, and stories we're following on this edition of the program. President George Weah declares today, Thursday, May 14, as National Unification Day, to be observed across Liberia as a national holiday. Finance Minister Samuel Tuah says the impact of COVID-19 on fragile states will affect the private sector and governance. The government of Liberia says its investigation about inciting comments by an official of the Council of Patriarchs is based on criminal implications. And at last, the sovereign African country of Lesotho records a case of COVID-19, becoming the last nation on the continent to confirm an infection. Most stories are still ahead of this edition of the program. Keep tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the program, and it seems that Liberia is making some strides in the fight against COVID-19 as 101 persons have recovered from the coronavirus infection at the 14th Military Hospital in Magibi County. It followed the recovery of 15 persons on Tuesday. The Incident Management Team Wednesday's situation report shows that one new case of COVID-19 has been reported in the country, bringing the total number of confirmed coronavirus cases to 213. At the same time, 92 active cases are receiving treatment at the quarantine center. Montserrado County District 16 Representative Dixon Sibo is seeking the implementation of digital financing in Liberia. Representative Sibo said, among other things, it would ease the burden on the banking sector and ensure the safety of people in the wake of COVID-19. He spoke Tuesday following the submission of a communication to the House of Representatives.
It's important to note that there are many of our inhabitants that do not live in areas where there are banks. And that's why the issue of mobile money was being raised. But beyond the implementation of mobile money, if individuals have to receive mobile money and go out to find encashment, then again it defeats the entire purpose. So one of the things that was lacking in this entire process is the issue of building a vibrant ecosystem. Why is doing that is also important that if we went to the store in this modern age, we are amongst the fewest countries in the world that we will do transaction over the counter using massive cash. And so with the implementation of POSs at these different institutions, we can limit social distancing to a larger extent. We can limit the issue of people not being affected, but also one of the things that we can achieve is what we always go through year on year. The press on cash in the banking sector every year is an issue that we must consider. And so with the implementation of all of these things, the banks will be relaxed in terms of cash press that go through area. It is against the background, colleagues, speaker, deputy speaker, that I am pleading with the plenary that we invite the relevant agencies to include the Minister of Commerce, the Central Bank of Liberia, and the telcos, who are very, very important when it comes to the issue.
Now to Nimba County, where heavy storm has left hundreds of residents homeless in Balagley Town in District Number 4. Though there has been no casualty reported, the incident led to the destruction of houses, the roof of the only school building in the area, and damaged other valuables. Nimba County District 4 Representative Gompu Kagon has been telling ELBC more.
Just imagine one time more than some more houses getting destroyed, and those people left the house and the whole thing went on them. I was just giving 10,000, 15,000 to each member of people that are got wounded. So according on the national government to give help to the people of Bidegli, because I alone cannot make it. Only Jeremiah Kuhn assisted me with Tony Bono was there. Myself, I had a few Bono there to care for the people along we right. But you can't still help them. they need more help for the national government. So I'm calling on my president, Dr. Josh Malawia, to at least boost the morale of the people of District of 4 by sending 100 bundles. We will be so pleased. We will bless it so much. Yes, we are not demanding, but we are requesting for the honorable president.
Where are they being sheltered?
What's happening there is that the town people, is not all the houses got destroyed. So the all building that stay in good position, people taking the other vulnerable family to their various homes until we can.
More commendations continue to pour in on the Liberia broadcasting system for its role in the fight against COVID-19. The latest comes from the Church of Pentecost Liberia when it donated 10,000 Liberian dollars Wednesday in Pinsville. Apostle Masabwa Wowu made the donation.
The role of the media in the fight against the COVID-19 cannot be overemphasized. And so because of the kind of role you play, we thought that we could come and then see how to, identify ourselves with you as a church in the fight against the COVID-19. So it's just a little amount of 10,000 Liberian dollars that we have to donate to the station, in helping you combat this, virus. So on behalf of the Church of Pentecost Liberia, we are pleased to identify with the institution.
Responding, LBS Director General Ledger Ureni thanked the Church of Pentecost for the donation.
Let me, on behalf of the management and staff of the Liberia Broadcasting System, express our appreciation to the church for thinking about us and bringing this donation to us. I know you say it's a little amount, but let me say publicly that it emboldens us to continue to do the work that we're doing here. That it tells us that you people who are all Liberians are listening and recognizing our role as a national broadcaster in the fight against this deadly coronavirus that's plaguing our world. And so we're happy that you've come to identify with us. Our staff will really appreciate this. And all I can say is that God bless you all and thank you very much. We will continue to do what we have to do under our mandate as the National Broadcaster of Liberia. Thank you.
Meanwhile, the Liberia Broadcasting System Workers Union has donated 10 bags of rice to the system's management to feed essential staff while on duty. Presenting the rice, LBS Workers Union President Moses Dubber said additional 20 bags will be distributed to other workers staying at home.
The leadership of the Liberia Broadcasting System Workers Union would like to take this time to present to you these 10 bags of rice, a project already on the ground, especially with those staff that are active to be cooking. I think there's a need for us to identify with that project. There's a saying that if they are washing your back, be able to wash your belly. And it is in this light that otherwise that it's not enough 10 bags of rice. For now, we know that the leadership didn't forget them. We have come to identify with our employees with the 10 bags of rice to present it to you, Mr. Director General, to be able to be cooking for our people on a daily basis. In fact, it's now only 10. We have 20 bags of rice, but 10 bags of rice coming to the active employees, and the other 10, which is from warehouse there, will be distributed to the secretariat, where they can list 10 or at least.
Again, receiving the donation, LBS Director General Ledger Ureni said the rice will motivate the management to continue with its responsibility.
I'm not surprised again that you are coming to buttress what we started several weeks ago. Trying to work here sometimes 14 to 20 hours a day to be able to continue to make the kinds of sacrifice they're making, especially during this national fight against the deadly coronavirus. I couldn't have put it any better than you have said to call on the national leaders to see this place as strategic in this fight. All over the world, the tools of communications are being used in the fight against the pandemic. Liberia is no exception. You cannot have a national broadcaster in this fight. We're doing what we, like I always said, since this thing started, nobody has come to LBS's call to say, let's give them a little motivation of cash or something to continue to do what they're doing. But we're doing it on our own. And we will continue to do because God has given us the tenacity to carry on. This is, emboldening in itself as a token that will encourage us as a management to continue to work and advocate for you all the workers. Because without you, nothing can be done here, simply. So we'd like to thank the leadership of the Workers' Union, and I can assure you that this will be used for the intended purpose. The workers will continue to have a meal to eat every day as long as we have this on our hands, and we'll do the best we can to keep them happy.
In a related development, a resident of Painesville has donated cash of 2,000 Liberian dollars to the Liberia Broadcasting System. Mr. T. Max Freeman said it was his way of identifying with the system.
As an individual who has sat back and listened many times to news relating to this COVID-19 fight, I thought it wise indeed to come as an individual and for and on behalf of the Association Papa and my friends, who call them Friends of TMAC, have come this day to identify with the Liberia Broadcasting System, ELBC for short, in buttressing their effort as they contribute towards dissemination of information for us, the citizens, in the fight against COVID-19. That's why I have come. I could have come with my colleagues, but the time of the lockdown is getting closer. All could not come because of the transport and what have you. So not to waste much time, I thought it was to just take the bold step and come and do this donation. And the donation I'm going to do here is to buttress the effort of this media to continue the good work. While it is true that indeed myself I'm found in the media, but then we do state photo as an association and an individual. I say thank you, bravo, and may you continue your good work. For I do know that the media got no limit when it comes to broadcasting.
LPS Comptroller Ernest Koba received the money on behalf of the management on Wednesday.
I would like to, on behalf of the management and staff of the Liberia Broadcasting System, LBS, extend heartfelt thanks and appreciation to the Painesville Photographer Association for this kind gesture. And we hope that this little that you gave, there's a saying, little is much when God is in it. Cash that you donated to the LBS to buttress its fight and initiative against the COVID-19 pandemic will be used for intended purpose. Once again, we appreciate your gesture.
And away from Liberia, the southern African country of Lesotho has recorded its first coronavirus case, its health ministry has said, becoming the last nation on the continent to confirm an infection. The ministry on Wednesday said it conducted 81 coronavirus tests on travelers from neighboring South Africa and Saudi Arabia, of which one was positive, while the results of 301 other tests are pending. The Ministry of Health informs the Basotho Nation and the entire community living in Lesotho that the country now has the first confirmed case of COVID-19. The patient is a Lesotho national staying in Saudi Arabia. On that note, that's how we end this edition of News Live here on LNTV. Before we leave, we recap the major stories we follow. President George Weah declares today, Thursday, May 14, as National Unification Day, to be observed across Liberia as a national holiday. Finance Minister Samuel Twet says the impact of COVID-19 on fragile states will affect the private sector and governance. The government of Liberia says its investigation about inciting comments by an official of the Council of Patriarchs is based on criminal implications. And at last, the sovereign African nation of Lesotho records a case of COVID-19, becoming the last nation on the continent to confirm an infection. Join us at 8 this evening. We'll be back with another edition of the program. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Liberia Broadcasting System, my name is Chap Davis. I anchor this edition of the program. Bye-bye from Painesville.
Introducing Royal Butter Bread. Delicious, nutritious, ideal